Welcome to the Human Together podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jason Floyd. Human Together is a show that is centered on humanity to create understanding and appreciation for individuals and groups that are both informative and thought-provoking. Welcome back to the Human Together podcast show. As many of you know or may not know, I've been a special educator for over 25 years, and during that time, I've always sought opportunities for my students to get involved in leadership, or sports activities through the Special Olympics, and other like activities to expand their horizons. And recently, I discovered an organization that was new to me that I discovered on a trip to Crested Butte, Colorado, called the Adaptive Sports Center. I was intrigued and wanted to know more about the organization, so I reached out to the directors of the center to learn more.
Welcome to the Human Together podcast show. Tell me about the Adaptive Sports Center. What's the mission and what's the purpose of the organization?
The Adaptive Sports Center is an outdoor program for people with disabilities, and we've been around since 1987. First, just starting out as a winter program, and then getting more into summer. I think in 2000 was our first summer. We had a lot of demand from our participants, so we spent a couple years figuring out good summer activities to be able to offer. But ever since then, we've been a year-round program for people with disabilities, and I think Chris Reed, my partner, has done a great job of bringing in a lot of therapeutic rec components to our programming and really kind of focusing on successful outdoor adventures that empower people.
I'm speaking with Chris Reed and Chris Hensley of the Adaptive Sports Center. What are your roles within the organization?
So my role, I'm the executive director of the Adaptive Sports Center. So really my role has become running the business of the Adaptive Sports Center, making sure we're on track with our budgets and in our planning and board interface and donor interface and program interface. Just making sure that everything's running so that at the end of the year, there's still a program out there to serve our population that we serve. Chris Reed, I'll let him talk about his role.
Chris Reed, and I'm the program director, and Chris Hensley mentioned I'm also a certified rec therapist. And so my responsibilities here is everything that's programming based, and I have a fantastic staff that helps with that, and basically our job is to facilitate our mission and get all of our participants out doing the activities and the programs that we offer. And everything goes along with that, so, the overall budgets of programs, and we have a really good volunteer base, an incredibly talented professional instructor base, numerous coordinators, managers, and assist program director, and they all do an extremely good job, and so my job is to oversee that section of the ASC.
How many staff members and volunteers do you have at the center?
So we have probably 100 volunteers over the course of the winter that help out. And how many instructors? 20?
We have 23 instructors this winter, which is the most we've ever had.
23 instructors, and so the volunteer base supports them. So pretty much every lesson that we put out in the wintertime goes out with a paid professional instructor that is also supported by a volunteer. I think that's kind of unique to us that we rely so heavily on an instructor-based program. At times, we'll send volunteers out with some of our lessons, but they would be PSIA certified, Professional Ski Instructors of America certified. It's a pretty phenomenally trained and certified instructor staff that we have on board here.
I read an article in the Crested Butte News that was highly complimentary of your leadership, and it also talked about the history of the center, and it's my understanding that President Carter and his wife were involved. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think that article will do a lot better job than I would. My start with the organization was in 1991 as an instructor, so I was a little removed from the board of directors and the leadership at that time. The board president, John Norton, was able to bring Mrs. Carter onto the board, and I think reading that article, you could get a lot more detail from that. Yeah, and I was on board as an instructor, so it was pretty cool. President Carter and Mrs. Carter would come out skiing with us. Typically, we'd have a group out, and we'd all go out and we'd have lunch together at the Paradise Cafe or the Paradise Warming House up on the mountain. And, at that time, to be a pretty young instructor, to be able to have lunch and have your participant have lunch with a former president of the United States. That was pretty cool. Mrs. Carter, she was definitely a big, at the time, mental health advocate, and so she really saw that correlation between what we did and some of the work she did on that in that arena. So I think that's what enticed her to get involved.
Are they still involved in the organization as honorary board members?
Mrs. Carter is an honorary board member, and she was on our board as an actual board member for a while. President Carter, we left him out of it.
That's funny. It sounds like she was a huge advocate for the organization.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool that she wanted to, not just be an honorary board member at the beginning. She wanted to be involved. And so I think, was involved with a couple board meetings that she attended.
What specific programs does the center offer in the summer and in the winter?
So we do a whole host of adventure programs. That's kind of our bread and butter, and essentially it's all kind of mountain-based, human-powered outdoor adventures. So anything you can imagine that falls into those categories. So summertime, we have both flat water and river-based programming, everything from whitewater to more desert trips that has an overnight component to some lake programming that we do for canoes and paddle boards and things like that, and then rafts on the river, obviously. We have a road and mountain biking program for both stand-up and sit-down populations. We have a fully accessible universal design ropes course. We have rock and mountaineering programming, rock climbing and mountaineering programming, and feels like I'm missing something. Hiking and camping and backpacking as well. And so those are all things we offer in the summer. And then we do some custom things too. If someone has a certain idea that they want to do and they just need some assistance, we can often kind of figure out how to do that, or we have the contacts to make that happen for them. In the wintertime, we're 90% alpine skiing and snowboard based, including all of the kind of the adaptive applications that go with those two activities. So our alpine skiing program is for stand-up and sit-down participants with specialized equipment. Snowboarding is primarily stand-up based, but also has more and more specialized equipment these days than it has in the past. And then we have a handful of user days for Nordic skiing, snowshoeing, and ice climbing.
Who's eligible to participate, and how do they sign up?
Yeah, so anyone who has disability is eligible. And then one of the cool things about our program is we also offer everything we do to the immediate family and very close friends of the participant as well, so they can come out and have a proper vacation and a good adventure with the people that are close to them and that they care about. And activity, that's kind of the qualifier. And then each activity is kind of has its pros and cons depending on the population, but we will often, depending on the person's needs and their interests and their goals and things, we'll kind of have numerous suggestions for them what we think would be the best fit to get them going. Not all activities are the best fit for all populations, but we can help people kind of think those through and do that. Our water-based programming and our skiing programming are the two most universal kind of programs we have, and pretty much anyone who comes to us can participate in those sports. And then one of the cool things we do here is we work directly with a lot of the kind of premier rehab facilities across the country as part of their rehabilitation program. So people come here as patients, either inpatient or out of patients with their therapist from home, and they come here and have this experience kind of be part of their recovery and rehab for their injuries or whatever the challenges they're dealing with.
You also have programs for injured veterans. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
We have something Chris, Hensley, and I have both worked on over the last numerous years as a funding source for our military program, along with our development director and her team. Her name is Allison Butcher, and we've all been involved in that in different ways. And we have an internal fund called Operation Rise and Conquer, and that is funding for military-specific recovery. And then we also use it military families who may have a disabled family member that's not necessarily the person in the military. So they might have a daughter or something like that, or a kid or a spouse or someone that has a need. So they have access to those funds as well. And it serves all branches, and we work really closely with the VA system, individual families and participants, and then some of the active military bases like Fort Carson and Colorado Springs, for example. And people participate through those organizations, and we kind of partner up with them in that way.
Operation Rise and Conquer program recently opened up to first responders who have experienced a disability, firefighters, police officers. We have a big burn survivor camp where we have a lot of firefighters from around the country that have been burned in the line of duty. So we've extended that Operation Rise and Conquer to include first responders as well.
Sounds like your organization is far-reaching and helps a wide variety of people with disabilities.
Yeah, it's pretty far-reaching in terms of...
We serve about 21 different populations, everything from, congenital and development issues to acquired disabilities and traumatic injuries and things like that. We also have a youth at risk program, and we're doing some things around stuff for cancer survivors and fighters as well.
In my last visit to Crested Butte, I was able to tour your beautiful new facilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about those?
Yeah, we're super excited. This has been something that's been on our radar for many years, and to be in here and actually executing winter program now out of our new facility has just been a dream come true. And what's been super cool about it is, we've had one of the busiest starts to our winter ever, and it's been super smooth, and everybody feels like it's just another day of programming. It's not just our busiest day ever, but one that's really smooth and people are getting out quickly. And so, the building's really doing what we've designed it to do, which is to handle a kind of increased participant load and to be a really nice facility that's kind of specifically built for our population.
And within the facility, you have the ability for families and participants to stay the night?
We have, the third floor is what we're calling just a big lodge, and it's specifically designed for our groups. We have a lot of group business that comes in, rehab hospitals from around the country, and so typically they would come and stay there. It's basically a big 7-bedroom condominium where they can all share the space and be together. At times when the group isn't absorbing all of the rooms, then we can at times rent out some individual rooms to families and individuals that are participating with us. It's more designed for our group business, though.
Do you get groups and individuals that come from all across the United States that stay at your facility?
Yeah, most of our groups come from out of state. Actually, we'll serve about 40 to 45 groups this year, and I think 5 or 6 of them are from in the state. The rest are traveling from elsewhere. A lot of business out of Texas and Oklahoma, the upper Midwest, Chicago area, California, Florida, the eastern seaboard, and they're all coming to Colorado for their high mountain adventure. It's really cool.
Only about 20% of our programming is coming from Colorado.
What kind of outreach do you do to involve people from all across the United States?
We do a lot. I think our group business does a lot of outreach for us because a lot of individuals that participate with the groups come back as individuals. And I think there's just a lot of word of mouth. There's a lot of, I think the rehab hospitals talk to each other, and we have a very good, reputation with them. And so once Baylor Health hears that we have a group, Johns Hopkins here, then I think we just have a very good reputation with the groups.
Switching gears for just a moment, I noticed on your website you have mountain dogs as part of your team members. Can you tell me a little bit more about them?
Comic relief.
It looks. You had pictures as if they were the staff members, so I figured there was some element of comic relief. Yeah.
We're lucky enough to bring our dogs to work on occasion, and matter of fact, Chris Hensley's dog is with us right now. She's sitting here listening. She's actually crashed out right now. Those are the staff's dogs, and they get to come to work once in a while and kind of hang out in the office. And one of the cool things about living in a mountain town is people are very attached to their dogs.
I picked up on that vibe while I was there. It's probably inadvertent therapy in a way.
Yeah, and they don't have too much interaction with the participants, but I think having a dog in the office is really kind of when Hazel Hensley walks around to everybody and wags her tail and is looking for a scratch. I think it is great kind of energy to have.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Where can my listeners go to find out more about the Adaptive Center?
Yeah, so our website is the best place to go into the participant resource page, and we have information about our activities and how to register and all the things we offer, and there's some sections on there about Crested Butte and where we're at, and that's adaptivesports.org is the website. And I also really encourage people to check out our Vimeo page with our videos, and there's a link to it on the top of our website with the V, and it kind of links people into it shows some real beautiful footage of some of the activities we offer and features some of our groups that come and our participants, and kind of seeing and watching those videos is often some of the best ways to communicate what we do. And if folks have questions, they can always call us. Staff is super helpful, and we're more than happy to talk to someone about the program and what we do and answer specific questions and help people decide what would be a great fit for them if they did want to come out this way and just start the conversation.
Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, and your efforts should be applauded. You guys do some awesome work there at the Adaptive Sports Center.
Thank you very much. We're glad you found us.
Glad you had the opportunity to see the program and see the building.
I encourage anybody that has a disability or a veteran that's recovering from an injury to reach out to the Adaptive Sports Center in Crested Butte, Colorado. They really do have some amazing programs and a stock of adaptive equipment that can help anyone participate in outdoor activities. Through the efforts of the Adaptive Sports Center, everyone has the ability to be outside, to ski, to kayak, to mountain climb, and ultimately enjoy life. Activities that help us all become human together.